Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to our Monday night get together. I'll just give this a few moments to get everything warmed up. Wherever you're watching this one, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching it on replay, whether you're watching it on Facebook, YouTube, what is it, Getter, Rumble, X, wherever it is. Anyway, you're all very welcome. And of course, don't forget to drop a comment and so I can see what you think as we go through tonight's packed agenda. Packed agenda we've got tonight, as we always do, actually. I mean, the one thing about this world of political commentary is there's no shortage of content, and there's no shortage of content tonight. Now, we were going to be interviewing Dr. Dave Cartland tonight for a section of the show, but unfortunately Dave is unwell, and so wish him every recovery, and we'd hope to get him on again in the near future. You may remember Dr. David Cartland. He was one of the good GPs during the time of COVID tyranny, and he's been absolutely persecuted and hounded in so many ways. It's almost unbelievable since then. So, but he, as I say, even doctors get sick, and what does it they say? Physician, heal thyself. So I hope Dave does heal himself and gets over the current issue. So just wanted to say that. And then above and beyond that, just to say, don't forget, if you enjoy the show and if you enjoy the content we put out here over in Substack, over in the podcast channel, then if you want to support me, buy me a coffee. There's a link below. If you want to keep this thing on the road, challenging back as we do. Natural. I'm a natural awkward person, really, I suppose, but you gotta be if you're gonna sort of wade through this world of confusion. By the way, I'm over to Birmingham later this week, back end of the week, and I had asked online which vaccines do I need to take to get to Birmingham. So I was given some hilarious lists of all the different things. The TB, I don't know. Plague, bubonic plague. I need to get vaccinated for all that if I'm going to Birmingham. So anyway, Harry Johnson, thank you very much, Harry, for being here with us this evening. Now, to start off with, I guess what I want to do is I want to talk about our care. Our care has been, there you go, there's a link, enjoying the show, buy me a coffee. It only takes a minute, makes a big difference. Yeah, care, our care. Well, I mean, when he's not entertaining in Downing Street, which I'm sure you saw him do yesterday, he had all his pals around. Hi, Nicole. He had all his pals around, his besties. Emmanuel, Friedrich, and of course, what's his name? Zelensky, Vladimir. So they were all around Downing Street for a big chat yesterday. Did you see it? So cringe, so completely embarrassing, so detached from what British people want. We don't care about that. This is the thing about Starmer. He doesn't get what we want. He just doesn't. And so but I think when he feels very sad, he brings in these other Euro cucks like Merz, like Macron, and of course Zelensky's always available. I think his booking fee is a couple of billion, though. If you want to get him to appear at Downing Street, it's going to cost you and me, British taxpayers, a couple of billion. But hey, what's that to a man like Starmer, who's probably on a very short period left in his career? So so I saw all that. I saw all the stuff with the most hateful people in Europe, I would argue. Macron's loathed by the French. Merz is loathed by his ratings in Germany are even worse than Starmer is here. So these are hateful people. These are people who are hated. It amuses me. They're hated by their electorate. So what do? They all go around to Keir's for probably matcha teas and some soybeans or whatever it is these people eat. So I saw that yesterday. But anyway, Starmer got that out of the way, and then Today, he's delivering us and he's saving all our kids. He's going to keep all our kids safe. And I want to talk to us through because it is kind of, this is now we're getting into the meat of the stuff, right? So, the first thing I want to play you is a short clip of Stormer coming out with something that really, really worries me. So, we can play slide one, Jed.
New tools, like our AI tutors, that we will roll out to the 450,000 children on free school meals to close the attainment gap. And today, I can announce our new AI jobs tool that will help those out of work find the right jobs, create their CVs, and get back into work.
Okay, so we'll just focus on that for a second. So he's going to provide the 450,000 kids on what he calls free school meals, or as you and I would call subsidized school meals, with an AI tutor to help them. And just think about how sinister that is. What he's really saying is that this is where the links now start to come in. So the kids who are on free school meals get the allocated AI tutor. Now, I'm not sure what that actually means. What is an AI tutor? And what is the job of this AI tutor precisely? And what age does the kid be allocated the free school meals? Do they get it at 5-year-old? Is it 15? What age is it? Of course, Nicole, he has to mention free school meals. I mean, it's the only thing. When the political obituary of Keir Starmer is written, right, the thing that they will say is, well, he brought free school meals for 450,000 kids. He lifted them out of poverty. Northern Monkey says the tutor's called Amelia. Yeah, it'd be good if it was. But it's sinister, you know, it really is sinister. This guy is somehow trying to link the fact that if you get a free school meal, somehow you're intellectually a wee bit behind everybody else. And that's why you need the AI to bring you up to attainment level. That's what he's saying. So does that mean that the kids whose parents pay for their breakfasts and feed them in their own home, are they to be disadvantaged at the expense of the kids who don't pay for their school meals because they're being provided subsidized FOC by the government? I mean, what is it? I'd like to understand exactly how this is going to actually work in the real world. But I just thought it was sinister, you know. So the 450,000 kids who are on free school meals will get this AI tutor. In other words, the government wants to make sure that once they've identified who you are, free school meal child, you're going to be given this AI guidance. What's it going to teach you? He says it's going to help you get a job. Well, then, does that mean we can do away with careers teachers then? Do we need careers teachers in school? I do remember when I was at school, you know, about 100 years ago, having a careers teacher, it was just the worst job. It's just awful. I mean, but that was a long time ago. I'm not sure if they're any better now. Northern Monkey says, yeah, eyes everywhere. Well, you're going to have your AI tutor watching you, but there's, yeah, Kevin says, how about, well, you see, yes, 16,000 deaths in the NHS last year. Yeah, that's right, Kevin. I did a Substack about that, or I did a podcast about that today, I think. The fact that, as I've said for a long time, the NHS is the National Death Service. That's just what it is. But anyway, so then the next thing Stormer did today was he's introducing a social media ban sometime in the next couple of weeks or whenever for under 16-year-olds. They will not be able to access social media platforms like all the various ones, you know, Facebook, I think YouTube, X, and Instagram, and all these other ones, unless they're able to prove that they are over 16. And that means that you're going to have to prove that you're over 16 if you're going to access these platforms as well. You're going to have to provide digital ID. It's all sleight of hand stuff, this. And I think it's outrageous to ban under 16-year-olds from the internet. I think they should be exposed within reason to the rich tapestry of information that is available here. on the internet, on platforms like X, on Rumble, on Getter, on YouTube, and Facebook. Kids should be allowed to have that access. And what Stormer's trying to do is sort of pull a fast one here. He's trying to at the same time as he's cutting them off, right? He's cutting them off from getting information that he doesn't like. I mean, he hates X. He hates Elon Musk, obviously. So cutting them off from that source of information, and at the same time making you prove that you're over 16, so that he then has your details as well. So just like that, your anonymity for some of these platforms is going to be gone so fast. Now, there's another thing he said. We're going to just get on. I just want to finish this, and then I'm going to move on to the second slide. Which he said that also kids are going to be kept safe from naked photographs and all that kind of stuff. Now, as far as I understand, Apple have already said and already implemented that technology. It's been announced today. And of course, I approve of keeping kids safe from the predatory aspect of the internet, obviously. As a grandfather, I don't want any of my grandkids exposed to that kind of crap. But I just don't buy into Stormer's whole, we're keeping the kids safe. If he wanted to keep the kids safe, why doesn't he what about all the kids that were at the receiving end of Pakistani rape gangs? What about those kids? Doesn't want to keep those kids safe, does he? Not particularly. Not interested, not really. It's an embarrassment. So I don't buy it. And furthermore, as Northern Monkey points out, I believe the UK is going to be potentially one of the first countries to introduce a VPN, not so much a VPN ban, but I think you're going to have to prove, if you're in the UK and you use a VPN, then you're going to have to prove your identity to the VPN provider. So you're not going to be anonymous to your VPN provider, and then can the government get the information from the VPN provider? That's the game in play here. But if we look at slide 2 here, it doesn't just stop at under 16s, because no sooner have they come out with this nonsense about banning under 16s that here we have the children's commissar telling Number 10 that you need to expand it to include 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds. And how long before? And 18-year-olds. So just think about what this clown is suggesting. She's suggesting that you can serve in the army, you can serve your country in the army, but you can't go on Facebook or X. Well, that's essentially the consequence of this, which I think is all very contrived and very deliberate, because they don't want young teenage people in particular getting access to information. They don't want that. It scares them. As Northern Monkey says, won't someone please think of the children? I mean, that's the oldest hoax ever perpetuated on populations by political tyrants. We're doing it for the kids. Think of the kids. So Kevin says, so you can drive a car, no social media. Yeah. Well, it is quite sickening. Which brings me to slide 3 on the same topic as well. I wanted to bring up, which is, as I put up myself earlier, and I'm sure you'd agree, the irony is that even as Stormer threatens us all with mandatory ID checks to use mobile phones, illegal migrants can enter this country without any ID. In fact, actually, many of them are given mobile phones along with a warm bed, free food, and free health checkups when they come here. So Brits, we are being punished by Stormer by, you got to provide your mandatory ID. Well, the people that come across the channel don't have mandatory ID, do they? Because they put it to the bottom of the English Channel, but they're still allowed in. So surely, if Stormer was being consistent, if he was, which he's not, he would be saying, well, on the basis of this, we can't allow any of these migrants. Doesn't matter what the issue is. They don't have ID, so we can't accept them. Sorry, because he's saying that to you and me. You want to go on social media? Well, papers, please. Papers better. That's where we are with Stormer on this here. It is I put a piece out on it over on my Substack actually today. I wrote a piece on, you see, the UK is following Australia when it comes to banning under 16-year-olds. And over in my Substack, I wrote quite a lengthy piece looking at what's happened in Australia since they introduced back in December of last year, it was this idea of under 16s aren't allowed, and there it is there, and fundamentally it's simple. All the evidence from Australia is clear. They don't work. They don't work. The government says they do work, but in practice they don't work. And if ever there was a perfect dichotomy between political sort of fantasies and real life, and you know why they don't work in Australia? They don't work because you can put all the age verification in that you want, but young people are very adept at getting their way around it. They can find, and they have found their ways around it. The government says in Australia, oh, we've taken down 4.3 million accounts on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, but then how many new accounts have been reinserted? And how many of the new accounts are the people who've had to take down their accounts coming back, but with a different identity or whatever? In other words, young people are so much smarter than, people my age and Keir Starmer's age, who think that we can control the internet. We're kings of the internet. No, you're not. And so in Australia, it's failed, and it will undoubtedly fail here in the UK. But that's not the point. And the final word on this is that none of this is about keeping anyone safe. It's about control. It's all about state control, government control of you. And so the government can know who you are, they can work out where you live, they can probably then start to track you. And the idea that VPN, I think one of the few other countries that doesn't allow VPNs, I'm not sure that the Chinese do, and North Korea. And then along comes the UK. I mean, this is the horror that is Keir Starmer. And we're going to talk about that later when we get to the subject of the Makerfield by-election, which we're going to get to. But, it is this massive authoritarian outreach coming from Starmer. And again, to go back into something I said earlier, he thinks that, this is going to be well received. It's not. It's going to make us hate him even more than we do. It's going to make this government even more detestable. Starmer's not doing what people want. Starmer's doing what his globalist masters want, what his Fabian pals want. That's exactly what he's doing. And he's pretty shameless about it. Nicole, you're right. He is a sinister individual. People make jokes about him, and yeah, fair enough. But there's more. I mean, we saw how sinister he was after the slaughter of the 3 young girls by the second generation Rwandan migrant in Southport back at the end of July 2024, when people were being thrown in jail just because they said something hurty on Facebook. And we saw just how authoritarian this guy just naturally was. That's his natural instinct. And of course, this is just another example of it. He wants to reduce he wants millions of Brits to be denied access to the internet. Yes, by the way, if you like this, please share it. If you're over on YouTube or wherever you are, so that as many people as possible can be part of it, if you can do that. So, okay, so I want to move on then, and I want to talk about Vance. No, not this one. You hear enough about me. I want to talk about my namesake, JD Vance, David Lammy's bestie friend. And JD Vance was very good in some of the stuff that he put out there over the last couple of days. I'm sure you saw it in the aftermath of the Southampton protests about the brutal murder of Henry Novak and the atrocious way in which the Hampshire police dealt with it, and the terrible guidance that Hampshire police operate too. And Lammy let it be known yesterday. Did you see Lammy? Lammy let it be known that he'd phoned up Jetty, and he told them that, look, you got this wrong. You got this wrong. This is not about immigration. not about immigration. The guy that killed young Henry, he was a total Brit, as pure Brit as you're going to get. Um, and of course, he's an immigrant. He may be a second generation, maybe a third generation, but he was an immigrant. Let's be under no doubt about that. And JD Vance was right. I'm going to play a short clip of JD Vance kind of doubling down on the whole issue of you and I and many others, millions of others, are right to feel a sense of fury and anger at the way in which our politicians are ignoring us, making life unsafe, and presiding over essentially open borders. If we can play slide 4, JD Vance.
In the UK who rejects that idea, I'd encourage them to just keep on going. It's okay to want to defend your culture. It's okay to want to live in a safe neighborhood. It's okay to want your job to go to yourself and your neighbors and not to a stranger who you don't even know. It is reasonable for the people in Western societies to want to control who comes into their country and who doesn't.
And he's right. He's absolutely right. Is there anyone who can deny that? Well, yeah, David Lammy. So just take up a quick slide. I think the next slide, Jed, slide 5. David Lammy. Jed, I'll bring you in this when you want to come in. So Lammy went on. He did the TV rounds yesterday morning, Jed. And he was on BBC, and he was on with Trevor Phillips on Sky, I think it was. And he came out with this was another one of his great lines. He denied, of course, recently that there was any such thing as two-tier policing, Jed. He then came up with this wonderful one-liner. But look, police can't always treat races equally. Well, Jed, I put it to you, if you're not treating races equally, then that's two-tier policing. Maybe he thinks it's a good thing. What do you think?
It's the definition of two-tier policing, isn't it?
It is.
We can't always treat races equally.
Yeah.
So we will have one where we treat blacks and browns, and we'll have one where we treat whites. So that is two-tier. There is two separate, and we know there is. We know throughout, not just the police, not just the police, but also throughout the judiciary. There is laws in place that say, well, if you're black and you've done this crime, you'll get a suspended sentence. But if you're white and you do this crime, you'll get a prison sentence.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice too many diverse people being sent to prison in the aftermath of the Southport riots. And I didn't notice too many diverse people, Jed, being sentenced in the last couple of days, since the Southampton protests. And furthermore, Lammy the other day said, on a separate topic, but not unrelated, that he felt there wasn't enough ethnic faces on the bench, in the courts. So, but you're right. And Northern Monkey's right. This is equity versus equality. Equity is a made-up term for anti-white discrimination, as far as I'm concerned. That's really what it is. And actually, Jed, there's a hierarchy. Because I saw. I think I did maybe do a podcast on this. Malcolm Walker, the guy who founded, the Iceland chain. Malcolm Walker, Jed, said that in one of his stores, there'd been an incident, and in the incident, a customer was spotted opening milk bottles and drinking them, and he was tackled by, a member of staff confronted him and said, "What do you think you're doing?" And the person who was drinking the milk just straight from the bottles or the cartons in the fridge, he said, that's racial harassment. He phoned the police, Jed. The police then came, and it turns out that the supervisor in the store, who the police then came to confront, he was an Asian guy, and the guy who was drinking from the cartons was a black guy. So so you got the sort of this hierarchy of resentment, where apparently being black, it trumps everything, and none of it should matter, Jed. We should be all the same, but This government doesn't treat us all the same, and they have no intention of treating us all the same. And white people are at the bottom of the queue.
No, you're right. And white people have been at the bottom of the queue for many, many years now. And I did, there was uproar about what he said, wasn't there? And I do remember, I saw the headlines. And it was almost like, how dare you? How dare you? To steal a line from somebody else. How dare you? But the point is, he's right. He's absolutely right. That there is one system. There are many. There is more than two tiers. There are you're black and you're brown. You're gay and LBG. You're trans. That's true,
yeah.
So there is division in that. But the bottom line is, if you're white heterosexual, you've had it.
You're screwed. Yeah,
you're screwed. And for some people that might be the only screwing they ever get, but you're screwed if you're white heterosexual. If you're ugly, then you go, whoo, at least I've been screwed by the government.
But you're right though, Jed, because the way the law is constructed, if someone accuses someone else of being, say, homophobic, and you phone the police and say, I want to report a homophobic crime, they'll come to your door quick as can be. If someone says, I've been racially abused, as we saw with Henry Novak, lying, bleeding out in the dirt, the police will come and be more concerned about the person making the allegation. White people in this country can actually just die, and the police aren't that bothered about it.
No, you're absolutely right. The police are not bothered about it. And I think that body-worn cam showed that. It showed a dying young lad on the floor, and the police were more concerned with the fact that he'd had his turban pulled off. I know when he's got a little cut under his eye or a little bruise. Right?
Yeah.
Well, obviously there was nothing there, was there? Not the fact that there was an 18-year-old on the floor bleeding to death, dying, drowning in his own blood. No, and people keep going, "Oh, take the knee." No, because that's taking a statement from the other career criminal, which was George Floyd. And I don't think it should be take a knee.
No, I agree.
It should be. I don't think you have, mate. Those words, I think, will go down in history as the most callous thing you could say to a person dying in front of you. Don't think you have, mate. Yeah.
No, I completely agree, Jed. I've said it myself that I won't take the knee for anybody. I won't. I don't think it's right. That doesn't mean I won't show respect for the likes of Henry Novak. I've got zero respect for Fentanyl Floyd, the career criminal that the left worshipped back in 2020. But I don't think we should ape some of the things that they. And I've seen instances, quite a lot of it going around Europe at the moment, where in Poland, I think, of course his family's Polish, where people were taking the knee. And I understand why they might want to do it, but I don't feel comfortable with it myself. So I'm with you. I don't think so, mate, is about probably right. That's how we should remind them,
That's it. And I've seen it might be AI graffiti, but I've seen AI graffiti with a knife. Painted on the wall, and I don't think you have, mate. And I think the copper that said that needs to explain why he thought that was the case, why he didn't even check properly. He was just too busy dragging him through the mud and cuffing him and reading his rights. When the perpetrator apparently still had a knife when he went down to custody in the police station.
Yeah. And had a record. The alleged culprit had a track record. I put a video up there last week of him out in public with a sword. Yeah. Not a ceremonial dagger, a bloody sword. And this is the two-tier system that we're in, Jed. It's
that's
like,
right. But every time it's brought up by people like Farage, then all it is, because Farage only gets the one question. Yeah, he doesn't get to come back. He gets the one question, and when he brought it up, what did Starmer do? He stood up and went, "No, there's not." Well, yes, clearly there is, because the vast majority of this country believe there is.
Oh, yeah. It showed, Jed, what we saw in the House of Commons last week showed the difference between us normal people and the people that sit in that place, the 600, well, as you said rightly on Thursday night, the 645 anyway, most, they're just out of touch. Even Kemi Badenoch kind of plays games with two-tier policing and whatnot.
The thing that really pisses me off, and I'm sorry to swear, but the thing that really pisses me off is PMQs. I'm paying them millions. We are paying them millions to sit in that place, and they're like a bunch of children. They are like a bunch of children, aren't they? And you could say, well, that's all the theoretics of being in politics. No, it's not. I want my representatives to put a good argument or a good question and get a decent answer back.
Yeah, but
that's all I want. I want honesty, and I want politicians to be politicians and not school children.
But here's another thing I wanted to put to you on this, on the way Stormer came back at Farage, which I thought was disgusting as well. One of the things that he said was, look, all this talk of being furious and angry, the family, Henry's family, have spoken out. Yeah, and actually, it's so. What Stormer's doing is he's trying to take part of a statement from the family and use that as a shield to defend himself and shut down debate. So in other words, we can't talk about it because the family don't want it. And how cynical do you have to be to behave like that, as Stormer is, Jed?
Well, he's hiding behind it. That's what he's actually doing. He's hiding behind it rather than actually answering the question. And that's a coward. That's what cowards do. Because they don't have an argument, they don't have a rebuttal of what Farage said. So cowardly, they hid behind a select phrase or a select sentence from the family.
Yeah,
to hide behind. But the bottom line is, all these cowards that we see, Starmer and Lammy and the rest of them, were all up in arms asking for fury and rage themselves when it was going forward.
Yeah, they were.
They literally was, and they were countless. And I think the guy on the Sunday program on Sky literally laid into Lammy. And I'm scrolling through your feed here to see if I can see it, and we can bring it up as we speak.
I don't have it, Jed, but it is brilliant. Trevor Phillips.
Well, I'm going to search for it.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm going to search for Sky News. Because it will be on there somewhere. But my point here is, he just lambasted him with his own words, and yet he was still trying to say that was different. What date was it? Sunday.
Yeah.
What date was it on Sunday?
Sunday, usually on Sunday. Yeah, it was obviously Sunday the 7th. But no. Look, the thing is that Lammy was trying to pretend that the George Floyd scenario was different. Well, it was, because George Floyd was
a career criminal.
Was a career criminal. Henry Novak was an innocent young man with the whole of his life in front of him. So they're different in that regard. But Lammy wanted to take a knee for this fentanyl dealing American because he was black. That's why he wanted to do it. And he doesn't, and he said explicitly that he won't take a knee for Henry Novak, even though I don't think he should either. Because, well, why might that be? I think we all know why David Lammy doesn't want to, or Keir Starmer, or Angela Rayner Jed. You remember that famous photograph from 2020?
No, I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I also remember the police by the baying crowd also taking the knee, which I thought was disgusting. There was one copper stood there. One copper actually got on his knees, and he got back up. And the coloured guy, the black guy, made him get on his knee again. If I was his colleague, I would have turned around and said, "You're an effing disgrace. Go."
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Because that is a disgrace.
Yeah.
They aren't served without fear or favour. But there is no fear or favour. There is favour for one set of communities or one set of people up and above everybody else. And it stinks to the core. And it really, really winds me up.
Well, there's a comment from Joe Cool. He says, and this is true, I saw this story, an English police officer was actually sacked because one of their during their diversity, inclusivity and equity training sessions, he challenged what he was hearing, and they booted him out. So, Jed, they're programming the cops at
Oh yeah, no, everybody. I've got the clip now, I think, Well, I'd have to
All right.
see. I'd have to get to the bit because
Yep.
right, it's because he's got Lammy there. I don't know how far this is in. I might just have to skip a couple of bits.
Okay.
To try
Well,
and
for
bring it up
comedy,
there, so-
Chad, we always like to bring people comedy. So David Lammy is by definition comedy. So if you've got the clip and you want to play it,
just give us a second. Just let me cue it because I've lost it. I've not lost the clip. I've lost the screen share. It's coming up any second now. Right. So I got the screen share back. I couldn't find the screen share with all the other stuff that we've got listed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's now really picking me off. It's saying no.
Hi, Jen. Okay.
I tell you, tech is brilliant when it's not.
Oh, don't we hear that all the time? Yeah.
Okay,
So,
right, it's coming up. So just let me find the screen share. Oh, it's there. So this might not be the clip, guys, but I'm doing my best, okay? So just bear with me, but he's now going to interview Lammy.
We'll focus on doing your job to provide the nation with decent, competent public services. Though it
was so painful, so harrowing, so horrendous, and my heart goes out to that family for the grace and dignity with which they are now having to conduct their lives, sort of in the full lights, basically, of not just UK attention on this, but now global attention on this desperate tragedy.
You and I have spent a lot of our professional careers trying to make sure that race doesn't become a burden on
I'm going to skip
people's
forward,
lives.
David, right?
The
The reason being
overwhelmingly,
is he starts to show
the
what Lammy
response
said.
to George Floyd was horror right across the globe. I remember we were all at home during the pandemic. It was horror.
But that's not the question I'm asking.
I'm explaining the context. That's the first context. The second context, of course, is that we are in government. The JD Vance is in government. When you're on the backbenches or in opposition, you're free, frankly, to reflect on anything. But I think there is a distinction.
It's okay for the opposition to be irresponsible.
No case is exactly the same. But but here we have a family who've asked for a specific response. I think it was right for me to remind the Vice President and actually also to note the response in Parliament. The Conservatives, the Democrats, the Greens, SNP, Labour, all broadly in favour. Only Nigel Farage peddling
the fact that everybody agrees doesn't necessarily make it right. But I want to come back to that. One of the reasons I was interested in what JD Vance said was that he used a really interesting phrase, and it's an unusual phrase. Here's what he said. Each time a life like his is lost, the proper response, the only response, is righteous anger. I looked up what you said about the death of George Floyd. We have to find a way to transform this righteous anger into meaningful reform. I think this is quite interesting because righteous anger is a phrase you and I understand. And I JD Vance had actually been taking some advice from you.
I do understand that, Frank.
I'll stop it there, David.
Yeah, it's over there. Yeah,
it goes on like that for some time. Yeah,
but it's good that
where Starmer and him had used the same phraseology, the same language as Farage. Yet it's okay for them because his argument there, as you heard, well, we're now in government. That's okay for the opposition. That's what he said in the interview. I listened to that interview, and he said it's okay for the opposition to come up with that sort of language, but not when you're in government. And I thought, I know, because Farage is in opposition. And exactly. You have Farage.
Yeah, I mean, Farage, there's half a dozen or so Reform MPs out of 650. Yeah. He's entitled to say whatever the hell he wants about it. Well, actually, Jed, maybe we'll move it on. So having said all that about Henry Novak, I want to talk then, Jed, and I'm particularly keen in your views on this, what I'm going to go through now, which is the Makerfield by-election, which is obviously on the 18th of this month. And the first thing I want to bring, Jed, if you can bring up, I think it's slide, no, the one with the odd, yeah. This is the latest odds, folks, on Makerfield. Labour as the heavily odds-on favourite, Reform UK 11-2, which are not great odds. Restore Britain 22-1. And then the Conservatives, the Greens, Lib Dems, 1,000-1. In other words, they have no chance. The only thing is, I would say the Greens did provide us with great entertainment on Thursday night on BBC Question Time when they put up that woman. That woman.
I saw that clip, David.
And she's a meme now, Jet. She's becoming.
I know she's a meme. Yeah, I've seen some of your memes too.
But here's the thing. So I mean, so that's what the bookies, that's where the money's going. So it looks like a clear Labour win, which worries me enormously. And I've written about this, and I'm sticking to my views on this one. However, I thought what I would do is I wanted to play a couple of clips, one from Reform, and to try to be fair and open about balanced, one from Restore. So I mean, if we can play, I will talk about it after the clips, yeah, but just play Nigel Farage there.
7.
Yeah, please, yeah. If you can.
Okay, I'll bring that up.
So far, absolutely packed, mobbed, really rather hot room full of very enthusiastic men and women. We're here with Rob Kenyon. They're all going to go out and deliver leaflets and knock on doors and do all the things that we need to do to win this by-election. So let me ask the audience. Can he win?
Yes!
There you go.
And you know, Jim, but before we play the Restore one, I mean, my feelings is I think he's a great candidate. He's down to earth. He's a working man. He's a plumber, even though he's being patronised for that. Whereas when Hannah Spencer, you remember her from Gordon and Denton?
Yeah. Oh, she was a plumber as well, weren't she? And it was great for Labour, for the Greens to have a plumber as a candidate. So
yeah.
You shouldn't have a plumber. You shouldn't have a plumber as a politician.
Well, so exactly, if it's a reform. So I think that Robert, yeah. I love that one. I just love that. The two-face.
I like your one. I'm sorry to interrupt. I like your one. That's the face you pull when you realise 1 + 1 = 2.
Oh, she's so stupid. But you know, and symptomatic of that kind of liberal woman. I mean, if we're going to be blunt about it, this is my problem with possibly university educated liberal woman. Northern Monkey says that's your GP receptionist. Yeah, if you can have an appointment, she gives you the face. Don't think so. No, it's all gone. So anyway, yeah, there you go. I mean, honest to God, I could watch that face. It's just the face. I don't think it is, mate. Yeah, Chad, brilliant. So anyway, I think Rob Kenyon is a great candidate, and I thought he did really well in Question Time, and I hope he wins. Then, in all fairness, let's play now Restore. Now, this is I think she's called Rebecca Wakefield, I think it is, and she was a Restore candidate. She wasn't invited on to Question Time, and Rupert Lowe wasn't happy about that. So what they did was, which is quite clever in a way, they have done a clip of Fiona Bruce on Question Time, and they've sort of inserted a bubble with Rebecca speaking. Rebecca Shepherd, that's it. Sorry, okay. Rebecca Shepherd. Pardon my mistake there. So if you can play that, Jed, and then we talk about the whole piece.
Okay.
Commonly asked question, so we're going to tackle it. Kath Rishton, where are you sitting? There you go.
In the light of the horrific news regarding the murder of Henry Novak, are we now in a two-tier policing policy?
All of the parents in the country must be horrified by that video. I mean, he was laying on the ground dying and told officers he couldn't breathe. He'd been stabbed, and he was handcuffed because the police were more concerned about how they would be perceived than helping a dying man. And obviously the wider picture, women in this country can't carry pepper spray to defend themselves. That's illegal. Yet we allow ceremonial knives to be carried in public places for religious reasons. You know, if we did that, if we went out with a religious knife or any kind of knife, we'd be arrested on the spot, wouldn't we? So that is a two-tier system, and it's ordinary British people that are paying the price, isn't it? Police have one job, as far as I'm concerned, and they should be protecting the public regardless of who they are, what religion they are, and what they believe. And and not to worry about diversity targets and things like that and keep people safe. We need to end the religious exemptions for bladed weapons in public. We need to restore the principles that law is blind and is relative to everyone. The police themselves are so worried about accusations of racism that they don't provide the service that they're there to do for our people and keep everyone safe, regardless of religion, race, age. They need to keep everyone safe. And I just think it's horrific. For every parent in the country must be horrified by what's happened to Henry Novak. I think we've created a system where the law applies differently depending on who you are, doesn't it? That's obvious that it's not equality before the law. It's a two-tier system, and ordinary British people are paying the price.
So there we go. That's Rebecca Shepherd, the Restore candidate in the by-election, and in Makerfield. And I mean, again, Jed, I mean, I'll be fair, she's probably not as polished maybe as Rob Kenyon, but I think most people would probably say, yeah, don't disagree with a word of what she was saying there. She has been a very low-profile candidate as far as I can see. In terms of canvassing, I've seen very little of her. She's not given any interviews. I think I know why that might be, because I can see that there's a bit of work to be done there. But Jed, I mean, just on the subject of Restore, the difficulty seems to me here, and not to put it too strongly, it may be that Andy Burnham's going to absolutely romp this, which is stunning if that's the case. I mean, God help, Makerfield deserve all they're going to get. But other polls have shown that if you take the reform vote and then add on what Restore appear to be taking, that would challenge Andy Burnham very, very seriously. So basically, long-winded way of saying, is Restore going to get Andy Burnham into Downing Street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Did you want to say a little bit more of a qualified
answer? Well, that's the summary. Okay.
I think they will. I think yet again, where the left coalesce to keep, for example, reform out in certain areas, because they lend the votes to the more dominant party. The right don't do that. Literally, the right just split themselves down the middle and say, no, I still believe in what you believe in, but I think it should be done this way. And that's the problem with the right. And saying we're too self-righteous. And I've said it for a long time. We can't just see the bigger picture, keeping Burnham out. That will do for now. You see what I mean?
Well, see, that's it. Yeah. See, I think you're right. To me, the big picture is we've got to defeat Burnham. Yeah. Burnham, Jed, there was a story that came up there the weekend as well. You may or may not have seen it, but it concerned Manchester Fire Brigade Union. And they were basically, apparently, Jed, they were saying, this is Manchester Fire Brigade, and this would have been, and he's the commissioner. Burnham is also, as well as mayor, he's the fire commissioner. They were basically putting out stuff to say to fire officers or firemen, if you support reform, that's going to be a problem. No, Jed.
But that's illegal. That is illegal for your employer to say that.
They can say it in subtle ways. But my problem is, if that's what he's saying in Manchester now, what will he say in Downing Street? I've written about it over in Substack as well. That's why I see him as very deep. Some people say, no, it couldn't be worse. I think it will be worse with him. Do you think things will be worse if he becomes PM, which I reckon he will, or than Starmer? Or do you think?
No, I do, David. I do. I think if he became PM, I do think it would be worse. You just need to check your mic, David. It just keeps coming in and out occasionally. Yeah. You get muffled and then you come back again as if it's overcompensating. Yeah. I do think he will be absolutely worse. I do think he's more of a commie, a hardline commie compared to Starmer. I think Starmer's just a foolish idiot. I think actually he's brainless. He's a lawyer. He just looks at law. He doesn't look at compassion. He doesn't. I mean, every speech he's ever given, whether the speech he gave about Novak, you could see somebody else wrote it. It wasn't written by him. It had no passion. It had no feeling in it. It was just AI generated, and that'll do.
Yeah. It was. So I mean, what did you then think of Rebecca Shepherd, the Restore candidate?
I think she just said what we all think, which is in a way what Reform are saying. Yeah. So they both, this is my point. They've both got the same message. So all they're actually doing is helping Burnham get in by not saying, like, you're the bigger party. We'll stand back. Just remember that in the future when we ask you to stand back in another area to assist us. Yeah, deal for deal.
Yeah.
But she's right in what she said. But again, I don't think there was any real passion in what she said. I think she was. But again, you see, she's just an ordinary soul, or Joe Soap, Mrs. Joe Soap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. Joe.
Mr. Soap.
Yeah. So she's not.
Yeah.
As Kenyan is, they're not as polished as the career politicians, and I'm fed up of career politicians. I really am. I just want ordinary people who've been through what I've been through, haven't been through the posh schools, haven't been through the student union and the common groups in university.
Yeah.
I haven't, gone up the slippery pole of the unions or whatever it might be, or been a spat, and gone, oh well, I'll kiss your ass, and then maybe one day I'll be part of the party and maybe I'll be the leader. Yeah. I'm quite surprised, and the thing that really does surprise me is all these spats, how young they are. Special advisors. How can they be special advisors when they're 18, 19, 20-year-old? They haven't shagging lived. I don't know how to advise on the way people live and the things that people need and do. This is my point. It's just, but those two people are unpolished. But I prefer that than the non-answers you get from a career politician.
I think the thing is, in Makerfield, to me, we've got one chance to deliver a resounding defeat to Burnham and Labour. And it seems to me that Restore and Reform, I'm with you, Jed. Restore, in my opinion, should have agreed to stand aside in a spirit of generosity. They could stand another by-elections, that's fine. But this particular one is so significant. However, Reform, which they're very active on the ground, Restore are very active online, Jed, online on social media. Elon Musk has endorsed Rupert Lowe. And so what I'm fascinated about June 18th is we will see then, Jed, how that translates, that online support and they're very big on as I say, on X, how that translates into real votes from real people in Makerfield. Don't you think that will be interesting?
You've got to remember, David, out of the voting population, very few are on social media. We live our lives on social media. Vast majority of people don't. I know several people literally within stone's throw of me, literally, who wouldn't think of jumping on X to see what's happening politically.
Yeah, they go to the BBC. Yeah.
But even then, they might not even watch that. I have neighbours that don't have TVs. Right.
That's the north. I mean, do they have indoor toilets? Do they have indoor toilets, Chad? I mean, come on.
I remember outdoor toilets, to tell you now. But my point is, the vast majority of the people of this country are not on social media. You could think, well, all the young are. Well, actually, no, they're not. Where the young are on Instagram and Twitch and Snapchat, that's where they are.
Yeah, but not anymore. From when Starmer put.
No, if Karma Starmer. Yeah, but my point is, we've got to stop thinking the activity on social media represents the country, because it absolutely does not. In no shape or form.
Rupert Lowe's saying that the reception they're getting in Makerfield is going to surprise a lot of people, and they're getting a lot of people who have never voted before. And I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I mean, he may think that, but
was that Reform?
Restore.
I don't think Restore is going to get him. I think because I just don't think they're a big enough name.
In the real world,
a big enough name.
Yeah. No, it's like Daniel said there. Let's bring it back up. My normie friends who watch Sky News have never heard of Restore. And that's right, Jet. I mean, again, it's reinforcing your point that, outside of the online bubble, people are going, who's Rupert Lowe and who's Restore? And the fact is, the name's very similar to Reform. So there's maybe a bit of crossover there.
Confusion as well, yeah.
Confusion, yeah. But
no, the thing is, I think Farage has been around long enough for people in the psyche to know about him. So you mentioned, Farage and Reform. People know they know what they're talking about. Mention Rupert Lowe, they go, who? You're right. Who's Rupert Lowe? This Restore, is that not Reform?
Yeah,
that's what people are thinking. So I don't think there's going to be this groundswell of anything for Restore. I really don't, because I just think one, they're just not popular enough. Yeah, you could even say, well, they've got a decent following on social media. Wow,
they have, yeah.
But wow, my point is wow. Okay, right. So that's a politically active, which is a very, very tiny percent.
Yeah, and I think, Jed, if I sat down with my family and I started, not my wife, because she is more aware, let's say. If I talk to my kids, they wouldn't have a clue who Rupert, they would know who Nigel Farage is. They would not have a clue.
I mean, Nigel Farage has been around for 30 years or more.
He has.
That's why people know him.
Yeah, exactly. That's how long I believe it. Well, that's the Nigel Farage brand is very strong, and people know him. Some people hate him. Some people think he's great, but he's well known. My point with Rupert Lowe is, outside of the salons of X and Facebook, I'm not sure that he's known at all.
No,
but
we're
going to find out.
David. We spend hours. You spend many hours, doing your podcast, doing your Substack. Make sure you go over there, guys, and listen to the podcast and read the Substacks at the davidvancesubstack.com.
Yeah, do that. Go now. When we're finished. Yeah. Go there when we're finished.
Go there when we're finished. But the point is, the audience, and no disrespect is meant, but the audience that we're talking to now through your Substacks, through your podcast, compared to the country, is minor. It's minuscule. Yeah. And so the politically active know what's going on. It's and I said it dozens. If I said it once, I've said it a million times. Joe Soap puts his feet up on the coffee table. At least now he gets to watch GB News. For all GB News' ills, he gets to watch some right-wing news and not propaganda from Sky, BBC, Channel 5, Channel 4. Yeah.
Yeah, Jed, we've talked about this. If you remember back in COVID time, we talked about, you remember the sort of purity tests that people were putting about, especially people, the anti-vaxxers, people like me. I wasn't one of the ones putting the purity test out, because you and I both said at the time, we don't care if people have taken the vaccine or not, because everyone's entitled to make their own decisions. But others were saying, oh, well, you took a vaccine, so your opinion doesn't count. That was wrong. That's a purity test. And at this point in time, there's a purity test being done between Restore and Reform. Restore are the purer than pure, no compromise, I don't care type people. And according to them, Reform are, much more middle of the road, kind of Tory-like. But you see, that's a purity tests are wrong. And in the real world, actually, as you say, things operate very differently. I reckon there's going to be some people with a lot of explaining to do on June the 18th. If Andy Burnham, if those boogie odds we put up, at the beginning, if they're anything like it, it's shocking. Because
what I would watch out for is those numbers shortening closer and closer to the date, because also bookies don't lose money. Bookies are bookies because they make money. Okay, so the odds will shorten, but I just don't think there's the exposure in the general populace for one. And I agree with the comment that the majority of people don't vote. That's correct. The majority don't. I mean, look at the last general election. What was it? About 34% of the population voted. Yeah, and out of that, Starmer got a third of that.
Yeah.
So a third of a quarter is not a lot of people. Yeah.
No.
But you know, I always say, if you don't vote, then don't complain.
Well, but I think
Right,
Dan,
that vote, that's your right to say. And you know, they say, I've seen it. I've seen it on posters, and I'll be rude, but please excuse me, David. But don't draw a cock on your ballot paper because he got in last time. and it's true, They did. Use your vote wisely, and I don't think a vote for Restore at the moment is a wise vote.
I think I just want to bring up this point again that Daniel made, aka John. He says that this is Jed back on the recognition point. He says that was a problem with Advance UK, Ben Habib's lot, which have now folded, as far as I can best understand. No one knew who they were, and you know that's such a good point. No one knew who they were. Ben Habib, we all know Ben Habib. Advance UK, we all know it. No, Jed, most people hadn't a clue who they were, and you know they got less votes in the Gordon and Denton by-election than the Monster Raving Loony Party, who people have heard of.
Well, they say because the Monster Raving Loony Party has been at the last local elections and general elections for donkey's years, 20, 30 years. That's right. And this is it. That's why Farage's name carries so much weight.
Yeah.
It really does, because he's been in politics. People know him. They know him as the Brexit man, the man that got Brexit. You know, and he was the man that got it. He was the man that forced the Tories on.
But it's interesting. Ben Habib is apparently he's thrown his full weight behind Restore. He's going up to canvass in Makerfield for Restore, which is lovely. But again, I wonder how many people. I want to bring up a comment in a second. I wonder how many people in Makerfield know who Ben Habib is as well. I might add. And
I agree, David. No, I agree.
I think some of our,
for example, you know, Kate Hoey, absolutely brilliant, isn't she?
Yeah, she's
a brilliant lady.
Yeah.
But you think about it now, she's been in the Lords however many years now. Politically, who knows about her? Nobody.
Yeah,
she was a stalwart in the Commons when she was in the Commons, but you know, Ben has never been there, and this is why Advance UK folded. They just simply couldn't get traction on the right, because what you're looking at is the Tories, who have been there for 200 plus years and are literally falling apart at the seams, thinking they are right wing when actually they're a mild they're a mild left.
Yeah,
and then. You know, you've then got Farage, who has been at this a long time, and all right, he's made mistakes. I know he's made mistakes, and I know he's changed and moved on topics and so on and so forth. But I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to appeal to your Joe soul. You know, where Rupert Lowe is hardline right wing, and he will not bend on his views.
Well, what do you think of the fact that I saw Jay in the past couple of days? We're going to wrap up shortly, but I saw that Katie Hopkins, Lawrence Fox, and Calvin Robinson have all joined Restore and are supporting Rupert Lowe's Restore as well. What do you think?
And so is Carl Benjamin. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to say this because it does wind me up listening to it. I do like him. I do think the stuff he personally produces, his own little stuff, I think he's really good. But he simps so much at the moment for Restore. You know, and for years he's called other people out for simping. Yeah. And I think that's all he's doing now. It's almost like everything he puts out has an element of Restore in it. Almost an advert. And I just think Restore are not there. As I said, Farage isn't perfect, but Farage will be our first, I would call real, people might call it light, but our first real right-wing government. I don't think he's our last right-wing government. What we need is to smash the paradigm of the two-party system to then get Farage in, who subsequently 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line from a general election, it could very well be Restore.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just think being pragmatic is what it's all about. You know, you got to be practical. Jed, you are an incredibly practical person, more so than me. And ultimately somebody's going to win the Makerfield by-election. Like, somebody's going to win it. And if it's Andy Burnham, I think we are in deep doo-doo. That's what I believe. And so I just figure whatever it takes to beat him is going to be what gets my support. And I think it's Robert Kenyon. That's what I think. Now, we have a surprise guest there came in. I saw a minute ago. I'm just going to bring her up. Princess Diana. Now, I know some of you thought the princess was long since taken, but no, Princess Diana came back here. And here she is. She asked me a question, Chad. Here's the question.
Okay.
From beyond the grave. Ooh, she said to me over from X. She says, how many shekels you get from Bibi for your post? I'll tell you, Princess Diana, just not enough. It's not enough. I'm glad you brought this point up, because clearly, if I'm going to shill for Israel, right, I expect so much more. So thank you very much. I really hope that Netanyahu is paying attention to you, as I'm sure all sane people are, because you make such really good points. And I only can hope that, the shekels and the Russian rubles, or whatever the currency is there, keep flowing in for all the shilling. Alternatively, what you could do is get yourself a life and get yourself off my show, okay?
Well, David, if people are paying, right? So if the oil companies, I'll take some of that money. If the Russians want to pay me some money, I'll take that too. I'll take any money from wherever it comes from. Yeah, I just want some money. I'm just fed up of having none.
Well, it's such a pain it's such a pain in the backside having to work, but so but you always get James, I mean, these clowns, oh, you're being paid by the Mossad. Maybe I'm a Mossad agent.
Maybe this and here we go, David. Maybe you're controlled opposition.
I
really do. Because every time you disagree, I'm not saying you, but every time the right wing disagree with something, it's always controlled opposition. And that just winds me up. It's just, no, they just have a different opinion than you. That's all.
This is right. I mean, look, there's been no bigger Trump fan since 2015 than me. And at the moment, I'm castigating him because of his pathetic dealing with the Iranian regime, including when Israel got stuck in yesterday, phoning Bibi Netanyahu and telling them to stop. I mean, so I think as a general principle, we should deal with each issue on its own merits. Do you know what I mean? And so you can disagree with people on one particular issue. You don't have to fall out about everything. No, I support Trump on 99% of everything else, but I sure as hell don't support him over Iran. But that doesn't mean that I'm an Israeli shill or a Mossad agent. It just means I'm looking at the situation and I'm thinking, well, Trump, you said surrender or die, and now you're telling Netanyahu, ooh, don't be nasty to the mullahs. And I want, as I frequently said, I want to see the mullahs brought down and 90 million Iranians given their freedom. I've said that now, Jed, for pretty much all this year.
Yeah, but I agree. And again, this is it. I think we can have a diversity of opinion on a particular person in this case. I'm not happy with anybody who should be using our weapons. Right. But I just think that we can, but it doesn't make you it only makes you a shill if you constantly pipe on about somebody and bring them into to areas where you're talking about something else. But
I
think we can disagree with some things that Trump does.
I think we
but
have
still
to
like the overall effect of Trump. Just like I disagree with some things Farage does, but overall effect will do me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, James Jameson is right. 1% of Trump is better than 110% of Storm. Absolutely right, James. And that's the point Jed and I are saying. We can agree with the vast majority of things Trump does. In my case, almost everything. But I won't agree with the way he's handling this. And Jed, you rightly said the same with Farage. There's things you can take real issue with. But at this point in time, what we need is Andy Burnham beaten in Makerfield. And the only party that can do that is Reform. And so I'm surprised that, without mentioning those names that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, some other people don't see that. They're wrapped up in ideological zeal, which could be seen as purity tests. And I stand against purity tests, Jed, as much now in 26 as we did back in 2020, 21 over, oh, have you taken the vaccine or whatnot? You know, I think
that's it, and I think that's where Restore is at the moment. It's what the normal people would consider hard line.
Yeah, it is.
What they want is a softer version, which is Farage.
Yeah.
Because they can go Farage. Well, yeah, he's got his faults, but I do like him, and he is charismatic. I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind giving him a go. Where you see somebody hardline like Rupert Law, you think, wow, yeah, I agree, but how far is he going to go with this? I'm not sure I want to go that far.
I think the summary in all of this is, Jed, and some people mightn't like this, but I think it's true. You only can win elections if you can bring together different people, different demographics, different voters.
And I think that's why you need that broad thing that Farage is trying
to
do.
You win from the centre. You do not win from from an extreme. Jeremy Corbyn couldn't win from an extreme left position, and I fear that Rupert Lowe and the Restore folks are not quite at the position that they want. They may get all the love over on X, all the boosts over on X. Elon Musk's behind them over on X, but I think, Jed, the ordinary alarm clock Brit in Makerfield will pass judgment. It'll be most interesting to see it. Anyway, we've gone way over time.
We have. I just want to just as you're trying to wind up, I just want to ask ChatGPT a question about X.
Yeah.
Bear with me a second.
Okay. So Jed's going to talk to ChatGPT. This is his AI tutor, and which has been allocated to him by Keir Starmer. And James says, I want Rupert to get enough MP to influence the reform government. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want a really tough government. Don't be under no illusions about that, James. So absolutely. And pressure from, Restore is good. Absolutely. It's just in this particular by-election, Andy Burnham winning is going to be bad news for everybody watching this. James says AI is the devil's work. Some of it is and some of it isn't. If you're wanting to find out, as I wanted to find out, what songs did Elvis Costello play in Sweden 2 nights ago? It tells me that, James. That's not the devil's work. That's good. Right. Back to you, Jed.
In the UK, there's about 18 to 19 million British users. Now, that doesn't mean they're active users. Okay?
No, I know. Yeah.
So that reaches about 34% of the UK's internet users. But those people don't mean that they are politically active. They could be posting about car stuff and fashion.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So it's a very tiny percentage. So all those people say, and I know we spoke about it earlier, that Rupert Lowe is massive on social media. He is in a small portion. Yep. But it's just not. I don't think it's going to carry weight, but it will be enough to swing it for Burnham.
Yeah. Well, if so, we're going to have an inquest into that one because I don't know how. Well, we'll save it for the time. Anyway, folks, we've gone past our allocated time as Jed and I can do. We're just trying to sort as many things out as possible. If you have enjoyed the show, you can support me by buying me a coffee. There's a link below enable you to do that. Please, if you can go and do that, I do appreciate it for those of you who take the time to do that. And other than that, just to say, check out Substacks tomorrow, check out podcasts tomorrow. I'll be back on Thursday night with Jed and our team for the Thursday Live podcast. And I think that's it, Jed. So from yourself and me, can I wish everyone a good night. Thanks for being here and catch you up tomorrow morning. Good night.